subscription, SPLA, and pay-per-use. Almost everybody, well, everybody that's in the cloud has that. Subscription and SPLA is pretty much how you license. We call those perpetual models.
And remember, subscription and SPLA are per box.
Yes.
Okay.
They're instance licenses. Well, so is pay-per-use. They're all instance licenses. And as you pointed out, or someone pointed out, taking my 2 big boxes and making them into 30 little boxes leaves me in licensing hell. So again, driven by a customer who said, no, I don't want to buy 30 licenses and end up 5 short. We decided we would revolution into metered licensing. And we did. So we now have MELA, Metered Enterprise Licensing. And MELA is a contract. It's a piece of paper between you and KEMP. And I'll show you the slide with the tiers, but it's basically a traffic tier model. It is instance agnostic. We don't care how many LoadMasters you start. We don't care how many are running at any given moment. We don't care what it's going to look like on Black Friday. MELA is about metered traffic. And unlike some meters, like your gas meter and your water meter, we don't do total traffic. We do aggregate peak. So we take the highest traffic point of every single KEMP LoadMaster, we add those together over a month, and that's your tier. And I have slides that'll explain that better. I should stop talking and use the slides. So the key with MELA is it's what we call ASL. It's delivered locally. So ALSI, if you've licensed a KEMP LoadMaster and you put in your KEMP ID and password, you connected to ALSI and you got one of those 3 kinds of licenses. That's all internet, and you got to have connectivity, and do I agree to call home like ET and all of that. ASL was originally set up for SPLA. So a certain government said we want to be able to do SPLA or licensing, but we don't want internet connectivity, so we gave them a local licensing model. MELA is delivered from that local licensing model. So here's your perpetual license. You can see you're somewhat over-provisioned, but it's okay. You've got your 2 web servers and you're happy. Here's your metered licensing concept. Some amount of capability, but all we're interested in is, I shouldn't be touching the screen. All we're interested in, is the actual usage. So again, I won't beat a dead horse, but we don't care how many instances you have. We don't care how many are on at a given time. What we care about is that if you had done this in perpetual, you would have had to buy 3 perpetual licenses, all 3 of which could have theoretically been over-provisioned, and you would have paid a significant amount of money for that. In metering, you're going to say, all right, KEMP, you gave me 30 days with KEMP 360 Central running, and I now know what my traffic looks like for those 30 days. If it wasn't December and I'm a retailer, it could get dodgy. But if this is a standard workload, then I know what my traffic looked like, and I can just start LoadMasters up because you don't care. What you care about, I'm going to skip a slide and come back to this one. What you care about is this, aggregate peak. So LoadMaster 1 over the month got up to 660 meg. LoadMaster 2, not so busy, got up to 295 meg.
What are the intervals that you're measuring across?
Sorry?
What's the time interval?
A month. 5 minutes. 5 minutes over I don't know what 5 minutes times a month is, but
But the month is divided into 5-minute increments. and
Correct.
That's 660 megabits over 5 minutes, or megabytes.
at some 5-minute increment,
Yeah.
your KEMP 360 graph peaked at 660 meg.
Gotcha.
Now, the truth be told, we're shifting from true aggregate to 95th percentile. We understand that bad things happen to good people. So, and we're also a customer service organization. If you get DDoSed and you've bought 2 gig from us and the report comes in at 80 gig, we're not going to charge you the difference. We're going to understand you got DDoSed. Don't let it happen again, but we're not going to be penal about it.
Okay, so you add these two together,
Oh, sorry. So I add my 2 peaks
okay?
and I get 995.
Okay,
I look up on the tier table, 995 is less than a gig, and the gig is the smallest we sell, so you owe me $1,000. Pretty simple. I'll go back to this one just quickly, I know.
so when do you switch to 95th percentile?
Let me get to the last slide.
Okay,
So I won't do the build on this. You've got your KEMP 360 Central, it's licensing, we don't care how many LoadMasters, it's polling those LoadMasters on a 5-second interval, but storing a 5-minute interval. At the end of the month, KEMP 360 Central calls home, says, hi, this guy's report is here, I'll show you the report. If there's a partner involved, the invoice goes to the partner, elsewise the invoice goes to the customer. At any time during the month, the customer has full access to this information. And I'll show you that very quickly. So, different plans, different percentiles. Where's the percentiles?
This seems like a model that would get expensive if I move my workload around.
Why? It's the same amount of traffic.
Well, let's say very smooth traffic rates, right? It's always right around a gig. And on Monday, I run that in data center 1 with 1 load balancer. It peaks at a gig for the month. And on Tuesday, I move it to data center 2, and that one peaks at a gig for a month. And on Wednesday, I move it to data center 3.
And that peaks. And that peaks
peak.
at a gig.
Right.
So you owe 3 gig, even though you've done
That
a
is what I'm saying.
sustained throughput of 1 gig.
even though it's the same workload moving from one data center to the next data center, and if you kept it at one data center, it would have been a gig for the
Yep.
entire month.
And so if you need that level of flexibility, then we have so you can see different MELAs. 1 gig, that's kind of the low end, 10, 25, 50, and 100. Then we have our relationship MELA. And that is where you define a workload as opposed to an aggregate peak. And you say, this workload may run on 8 different LoadMasters at 8 different times. I don't want to pay 8 times the sustained throughput. And then a switch gets set and the reporting changes slightly.
I see. So you have a model for that then?
Oh no, yeah. We couldn't do that because what if you had an HA pair? Forget moving data centers. What if you had an HA pair?
Oh, sure.
And so on the first, he does a gig, and then fails. On the second, the standby does a gig, and then fails back. You're going to get billed 2 gig MELA.
Yep.
Not right. So no. We thought about that from day one. Architecturally, how does it work? You have to have a KEMP 360 Central. It's a specific instance. It's a MELA-enabled instance. It has to talk to the internet. We do not have an air-gapped solution for MELA today. We have an air-gapped solution for perpetual licensing. We call it offline licensing. You take a key, you go outside the air gap, you get the email, you put the email on the key, you go back inside the air gap, you put the key in, and you've got your license. MELA requires monthly reporting. So this is not an air gap solution today. What happens? You've spun up your 360 Central. We pre-provision. Again, this is a contractual relationship, so you've signed a contract. Based on that, we provision one of those licenses that you saw on that table. The 360 asks for its license, and it gets not only its own license, but a bucket, an infinitely deep bucket of LoadMaster licenses. Now you spin up a LoadMaster. LoadMaster asks the 360 for a license and gets his MELA license. All right, I'm going to do...
Is there a cost associated with managing other load balancing platforms? F5s or?
Well, we can't do MELA for third party.
But do I pay just to have the interface to it?
The KEMP 360 Central?
Yes.
Free. We're really screwed up on time, and I'm sorry. I'm going to do this very, very quickly. This is a MELA LoadMaster, and you'll notice one additional box has shown up on my dashboard, and that is my activation count. Again, we don't care, but you might. So what this looks like is a regular KEMP 360 Central. I'm driving traffic to it, but that's great. We're not going to do anything about the traffic or the graphs or anything like that. We're just going to see that there's a bunch of MELA LoadMasters attached. And yippee yahoo, they have graphic data. We're going to go down here, and we're going to go, whoops, and we're going to go to metered licensing. So here's my activation history. These are LoadMasters that have asked for a license or said, oh, I've been shot in the head, please take me off the list, and have been deactivated. The key component for the customer is this button. And again, I think I need to Control plus this to make it readable. So this is the MELA report made pretty. So what KEMP gets is a spreadsheet, right? KEMP operations just gets a days, minutes, devices across spreadsheet. But what we give you looks a little nicer. So that's SSL. Here's traffic. So there's my max throughput by device, and there's my aggregate peaks. So there's my licensing bill, my invoice, as of the 14th of September. Hopefully I won't have any more peaks, and that'll be all I owe. But that's MELA. MELA is a contractual relationship that says we don't care how many LoadMaster instances you have, we don't care where they're running, we don't care how often they run. What we care is what was the maximum throughput to that device in the 30 or 31 days of this month. I'm going to add those up, I'm going to look it up on the tier table, and that's what you owe me. And at the very end of this, if we have time, you're going to see a use case, the first customer that actually drove us into this model. Now, what can I skip quickly? I think I'm gonna defer automation because I've cut way into Kurt's time.
I will go back up.
Is MELA charged on monthly basis or
Yes.
annual?
You get a monthly bill.
Okay, good.
KEMP 360 sends a monthly report. I've killed too many brain cells. Billing in arrears. So you're paying for the previous month.
Okay.
So we get the bill. It goes through a series of algorithms. Some of those algorithms may account for your same workload, different device. And we come up with a number, and you get the invoice. And you've contractually committed to that invoice. If you're way over your contractual tier, you'll be billed a delta. And then told, if you continue to delta, you'll have to move up a tier.
Okay.